Everyone was gathered around the security room, staring at the screen, and the workplace was buzzing with a nervous atmosphere. Their eyes widened even more in disbelief at what they saw when the security film was rewound. The truth that was going to be exposed was beyond anyone's ability to foresee. Unsure whether to be relieved or nervous, Jaden stood silently to the side. This footage was, after all, his only chance to cleanse his name. What if, however, it didn't display what he had hoped? A couple of weeks prior, Jaden had been ecstatic. He had high hopes of succeeding in the business world, and this was his first genuine internship. Jaden understood he had to put forth his best effort every day because he came from a background where opportunities were scarce. He would get up early every morning, iron his clothing, and smile resolutely as he made his way to the office. Despite being aware that he was the team's youngest and least experienced member, he kept his head down, worked hard, and did his best to blend in. Mr. Spencer, Jaden's boss, has a reputation for being stern and angular. Spencer appeared to watch Jaden more intently than anyone else from the first day. It didn't concern Jaden, who reasoned that perhaps Spencer was simply making sure he knew the ropes. However, there was something strange about Spencer's wary eyes. He seemed to be waiting for Jaden to make a mistake, as seen by the way he gazed at him. The first few weeks proceeded without a hitch. Jaden put a lot of effort into whatever task he was given, frequently staying late to complete it. He wanted to establish his credibility and demonstrate his dependability to Spencer. But as time went on, he started to notice little things, including colleagues' covert glances, whispers that ceased as soon as he passed, and instances where individuals appeared to be avoiding eye contact. He dismissed it, believing it was all in his head, even though it made him uneasy. At a staff meeting one day, Spencer then revealed that an important item had vanished from the workplace. His comments had a weight that made everyone sit up straight, even if he didn't say what it was. As he looked around the room, Spencer had stated, "In a place like this, trust is everything. Breaking that trust is a betrayal, not just a small transgression." Spencer's eyes rested on Jaden for a fraction of a second longer than on everyone else, sending a shiver down his spine. Even if it was slight, Jaden could feel mistrust in that glance. He made an effort to dismiss it, figuring that Spencer would never genuinely believe he was involved. But things only got worse over the course of the following few days. Jaden's name kept coming up in whispers he couldn't quite hear, and the rumor mill started to spin more quickly than before. People's gazes changed, their remarks a little more aloof, their smiles a little more strained. Jaden kept showing up every day in spite of everything, maintaining his composure and concentrating on his work. He didn't want to raise any doubts about himself. However, it was difficult to overlook the mounting tension, particularly when Spencer began bringing him into his office more frequently, always pretending that he was just checking in. The questions were brief but impactful, and each one made Jaden feel more and more uncomfortable. The strain then subsided one Thursday morning. Spencer summoned Jaden into his office, but his eyes were sharper and his tone was colder than usual. He leaned back in his chair and said, "Jaden," with a gaze that made Jaden shudder, "we have been engaging in exploring this area. Some individuals believe you may know anything concerning the disappearance of something valuable." Jaden's heart was racing. He felt confined as he surveyed the space. "I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. Nothing has been taken by me," he answered calmly but nervously. "I just come here to do my work." He made an effort to look Spencer in the eye, but the mistrust was too great to ignore. Spencer spoke in a low murmur as he leaned forward. "Jaden, I'm not sure. You've been spotted in places where you don't really belong. Even though you're new, this kind of thing gets recognized in this company." Jaden experienced a surge of fear and rage. Why was Spencer treating him this way when he had done nothing wrong? He dared not protest, though. He was aware that he needed to control his emotions and maintain composure. He just nodded in the hopes that Spencer would forget. However, Spencer knew that this was just the beginning because of his icy, vigilant eyes. Jaden felt the burden of everyone's attention on his back as he walked out of Spencer's office. It seemed as though a single rumor had destroyed his entire reputation in a matter of days. He was treated as though he was guilty before any evidence had even surfaced, and people started to distance themselves even further. Jaden was becoming more and more frustrated and depressed within. He had put forth a great deal of effort to succeed and get here, only to have everything fall apart due to a false charge. Every step he took felt like he was moving further into an unfamiliar and uncontrollable scenario, as if he were walking through quicksand. Though he was unaware of it at the time, everything would soon shift in unexpected ways when someone found out the truth. Jaden came to work the following day with the hope that things would get back to normal. He could sense the looks as soon as he entered, though, and they were colder and more accusing than before. Mia, his buddy and fellow intern, appeared apprehensive in his presence. In an effort to defuse the situation, he approached her desk and smiled slightly. "Do you have a moment, Mia?" He tried to seem informal as he inquired. She glanced around, then nodded quickly. "Yes, Jaden." "What is going on?" Jaden paused. He felt compelled to explain himself to someone, but he didn't want to bring her into this mess. He said, "I feel like everyone thinks I did something wrong. I swear, Mia, I haven't done anything, but Spencer keeps implying that I've taken something." Mia fidgeted with the pen in her palm and appeared uneasy. She whispered, "Jaden, I believe you. However, people talk. Spencer is also able to persuade others. He has influence." Jaden's heart fell. The only person who hadn't entirely turned away from him was Mia, but even she sounded uncertain. Before returning to his desk, he mustered a grin and thanked her. He was unable to get rid of the sensation that he was being observed as he snuggled into his chair. At that moment, Spencer emerged, moving quickly and authoritatively through the office. When he looked at Jaden, the latter instantly looked down and pretended to be preoccupied with his work. However, Spencer's voice could be heard clearly around the workplace. "I must meet you in the conference room, Jaden. Right now." Jaden felt sick to his stomach. It was this. He rose up, followed his supervisor down the hall, feeling the weight of the entire office on his shoulders, not knowing what Spencer was going to say. Spencer shut the door behind them as they arrived at the deserted meeting room. "Jaden," he said in a firm, uncompromising tone, "we found several anomalies after examining our security procedures. You appear to be avoiding the truth, but I wanted to offer you an opportunity to clarify." Jaden's lips became parched. "I'm not sure what you mean, sir. I haven't acted improperly. I'm here just to work and learn." Spencer's eyes were icy as he crossed his arms. "Really? Because things don't simply vanish. Additionally, you have been spotted in the vicinity of their last detention." Jaden's heart began to race. Even though he was aware that he had done nothing illegal, Spencer's charges briefly caused him to question his own guilt. Had he done something unintentionally that led to this? No, he firmly told himself. He needed to make it plain that he was innocent. "Mister, I have no reason to take anything, Spencer," Jaden stated in a steady but desperate voice. "I come here to put in a lot of effort and prove myself. There must be a misunderstanding, please." As if to sharpen his comments, Spencer leaned forward and lowered his voice. "Jaden, dishonesty is not tolerated here. This is your opportunity to speak if you have anything to say." The connotation was obvious, but his remarks drifted off. Otherwise, Jaden's heart was racing. It was unbelievable to him that this was taking place. He had complied with all regulations and done everything correctly. But now a false accusation threatened to jeopardize his career with the company. However, he was aware that he couldn't give up. "Mister, I didn't take anything, Spencer. Therefore I have nothing to confess," he said, his voice hardly audible above a whisper. "I promise." Spencer stared at him for a long time before giving him a curt nod. "All right. If you're so sure, we'll see the security video. However, I'm cautioning you, Jaden, there will be repercussions after the truth is revealed." Spencer turned and left the conference room after saying that, leaving Jaden standing there with a flurry of emotions roiling inside of him. Dread blended with relief. He believed the video would clear his identity. It was necessary. But why was he so nervous? As he went back to his desk, Jaden's heart pounded as he mentally repeated what Spencer had said. The truth would be shown in the security tape, but Jaden felt uneasy with Spencer's tone. He had the unshakable impression that Spencer had already determined his guilt. Suspicion pervaded the office, and each look he received from his colleagues just made him feel more uneasy. The stress increased throughout the course of the following few days. Spencer remained silent, and everyone's perception of Jaden became more aloof and chilly. Whispers followed him everywhere, and Jaden did his best to keep his head down, but it seemed like he had a label that said "thief" on his back. He could hear mutterings such as "I knew he was too quiet" and "it's always the new ones." The sense of powerlessness was the worst. Even though Jaden had done nothing wrong, it seemed like everyone was against him. Even Mia was avoiding him, no longer coming to his desk to talk or seek assistance. It seemed as though her own reputation might be damaged in some way by being connected to him. Then Spencer called another meeting one day. Everyone in the office gathered around the break area this time. With stiff shoulders, Jaden sat at the back, wondering what would happen next. With a somber expression, Spencer cleared his throat and stood at the front. He said, "I want to address a matter of utmost importance," in a deep, solemn voice. "As the majority of you are aware, we recently suffered a loss within the organization. Regretfully, it seems that confidence has been violated." They all looked at Jaden. Despite feeling the weight of their glances, he remained silent and kept his head down. Spencer went on, his voice becoming icier. "We do not take trust lightly, and each of us has a responsibility here. We're stepping up security in response to recent incidents. To be clear, now is the time for anyone who knows anything to share it." The quiet felt oppressive. Fear and frustration twisted Jaden's stomach. He knew it wouldn't change anything, but he still wanted to speak up and defend himself. He had no one on his side. Spencer walked over to Jaden as the conference came to a conclusion, his face blank. "This evening, Jaden, we'll be going over the video," he remarked abruptly. "I advise you to share anything you wish to before then right away." Jaden's hands tensed as he inhaled deeply. "Mister, I previously informed you that I didn't take anything, Spencer. I simply want to carry out my duties. I have no idea why this is occurring." Spencer's eyes narrowed, and for a split second, Jaden believed he caught a glimpse of something more, possibly annoyance or rage. Before leaving, he said, "We'll see." Jaden experienced a fresh feeling of dread as the office cleaned out that evening. He continued to pace close to the security room. He wasn't sure if he was permitted to watch the video himself, but he had a part of him that wanted to do so in order to finally establish his innocence. As he was considering his options, he saw Spencer and one of the IT managers making their way to the security room. As Spencer told the manager to play the video, Jaden hurried around the corner and listened. With a slightly overconfident tone, Spencer stated, "This should be easy enough. Let's begin with the video from that particular day." Jaden's heart pounded. Though he was afraid to interrupt, he was eager to see what they would discover. He waited for several minutes, each second getting longer than the one before it. At last, he heard Spencer's voice once more, but it had a hint of edge. "What is this, exactly?" Jaden moved closer, straining to hear the bewildered tone in Spencer's voice. The IT manager seemed just as perplexed. "Sir, it appears that Jaden is completely absent from this place. In fact, there is another person." Jaden's heart pounded. Another person. Was this a sign that he was going to be cleared? It was unbelievable to him. Now there was evidence that he had been telling the truth all along. Knowing that this moment was delicate, he remained silent. "What do someone else mean to you?" "Who?" Spencer's voice trembled a little, like if something had moved beneath him. After a moment of hesitation, the IT manager responded, "Sir, it's you." It is you who is in the restricted region at the relevant time. There was a chilly quiet in the room. As Jaden took in what he had just heard, his mouth fell open. The true culprit was Spencer, the man who had questioned him, accused him, and humiliated him in public. It was nearly impossible to believe the irony. Spencer's voice was strained as he attempted to recover. There must be a mistake there. It's not conceivable. I wouldn't. It's right here in the footage, the IT manager calmly retorted. The only person in and out of that location when the item was taken was you. Jaden was unable to control his feelings. Justice had finally come within his grasp after everything he had endured. He emerged from the corner, his pulse thumping with courage and his eyes unwavering. Mister, I think we should let everyone see the truth, he continued in a steady, clear voice. Spencer. When Spencer looked up to see Jaden standing at the doorway, he froze, his face becoming white. Tension permeated the air, and Jaden experienced a sudden boost of self-assurance. Everyone could see the truth now, after he had been pushed to the brink, humiliated, and doubted. The IT manager, obviously uneasy about the scenario, cleared his throat. I think it's only right that we bring this to the office's attention, he added. Jaden. Ultimately, an accusation was made. Spencer gave him a warning look, but the manager persisted, as if he was committed to doing the right thing. He looked across at Spencer. I apologize, sir, but we have an obligation to be open and honest in this situation. Spencer forced a strained smile as he tried to gather himself after realizing he could no longer dodge the situation. Obviously, he said, while his tone faltered. Let's bring this to the team, shall we? The majority of the employees were still finishing up for the day when they made their way down the corridor to the main office area. Jaden followed, experiencing a strange calmness. As they walked in, everyone's eyes were on them, feeling that something significant was going to happen. Spencer, clearly uncomfortable, cleared his throat. I would like your attention, everyone. His tone was unusually tentative as he started. It appears that there was a miscommunication about the missing item. The crowd echoed with a murmur. Spencer fought to keep things under control, but Jaden understood that the truth could no longer be kept a secret. With his phone paused on a clear frame of Spencer in the restricted area, the IT manager went forward and held out the video. He stated steadily, as you can see, Mr. Spencer is the one who was seen coming into and going out of the area where the item was last found. The chamber resonated with a collective gasp. People looked at each other in disbelief, and Mia turned to Jaden, her eyes widening. In an attempt to maintain his dignity, Spencer stammered as his face flushed. He whispered, struggling to find the right words. There has to be an explanation for this. I was just checking on something, the speaker said. It doesn't look like this. However, nobody appeared to be persuaded. His own case seemed flimsy in light of all the charges and the way he had publicly humiliated Jaden. At last, justice had come full circle, and Jaden's shoulders were relieved. Mia moved to stand next to him and nodded encouragingly. It is evident who the true offender is, she stated resolutely, with a tone of delight in her voice. The rest of the workplace appeared to concur, as their gazes shifted to Spencer with dismay and sadness. Jaden felt heard and seen for the first time. Spencer's credibility was destroyed when the truth was revealed. The atmosphere in the office changed after the truth was exposed. Once so powerful and in control of everyone, Spencer now appeared little and defeated. The same distrust and condemnation he had imposed on Jaden caused his confidence to collapse. Now that the roles had been reversed, he was under the critical scrutiny of his co-workers, who now recognized him for who he really was. After learning about the security tape, the HR manager, who had also been called in, came forward. Mister, we'll need to talk about this incident and your behavior, Spencer, she remarked in a strong yet businesslike tone. Please gather your belongings until then. You will be put on leave right away while an investigation is conducted. Spencer's expression darkened, and he opened his lips to object, then changed his mind. Before creeping off to his office, he gave Jaden one last sour look. No one on the squad expressed sympathy as they silently watched him pack his belongings. The same individuals who had formerly admired him were now averting their eyes from him, unable to conceal their dismay. A collective sigh of relief filled the room as Spencer departed the office. Jaden had a surge of warmth and a sense of justice that was unexpected but much needed. His co-workers who had before regarded him with distrust now came to him with condolences and encouraging remarks. Mia gave Jaden an apologetic grin and said, "Jaden, I'm so sorry for doubting you. What you went through wasn't fair." Some gave handshakes and back pats, while others nodded in agreement. Jaden's heart felt lighter after the simple gestures. It was now evident that, in spite of everything that had happened to him, he had gained the respect and support of others in addition to his innocence. The HR manager came up to Jaden at his desk later that day. With a compassionate face, she replied, "Jaden, I can't imagine how difficult this must have been for you. I apologize on behalf of the company for the handling of the situation. We will be examining our procedures to make sure that a similar incident doesn't occur again." With a sense of relief, Jaden nodded. "I'm grateful. Thank you. All I want is to be treated decently and work in peace." "You will," she promised. "We all appreciate your perseverance and moral character at this difficult time. Jaden, you've displayed incredible strength." With his heart lighter than it had been in weeks, Jaden packed up his belongings and left for home as the day drew to a close. Finally, the burden of injustice was removed, and he could look forward to a new beginning without the accusation and uncertainty that had followed him. After giving it some thought, Jaden saw that his experience had given him important insights into truth and resiliency. He had maintained his honor and integrity by refusing to back down, no matter how dire things had appeared. And justice had won out in the end. Moral lesson. The incident served as a reminder to all employees of the value of honesty, fairness, and humility. Making snap judgments about others without supporting information or empathy can result in damaging misconceptions and unnecessary misery. Karma was evident in Spencer's demise, since he had finally shown his own deceit by falsely accusing Jaden. Jaden's narrative had a straightforward but impactful lesson. Justice always finds a way, even if it takes some time. The truth will come to light, frequently in unexpected ways. While Spencer's dishonesty ultimately brought him to ruin, Jaden found that patience and honesty were his greatest allies. Jaden had a fresh sense of calm as he left the office that night. He was aware that he had faced a challenging test, but he had come out stronger because he had refused to let the injustice to alter who he was.